Hello and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about the Citrus Punch palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics, and this palette was sent to me in PR. So thank you so much to Simply Posh for sending this palette over to me. And this is such a summer palette. We have all colorful mattes at the top and on the bottom, and then some beautiful duochrome shimmers in the center row. And I love how these are in columns, so they do pair with each other. So I'm going to be creating two looks of the palette, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. First, I'm taking Fizz into the inner third of my crease and a little bit onto the lid, and then I'm going in with Lemon right next to that and just blending it out and into it as well. And then on the outer corner, I'm going in with Lime, and I'm first just kind of packing it on and then blending it out just a little bit, but I'm going to be using Citrus to help blend it out. And of course, bringing it down to my lower lash line, both of those shades. Next, taking Tangy on my pinky, and I'm going to put that about halfway on my lid. And then next to that, going with Sour on a brush, and that just applied so beautifully. I love this kind of shade. And here's the first finished look. Onto the second look, I'm taking Zest on the inner lid and inner crease. And then next to that, I honestly forget which shade I put on. I think it was either Quench or Punch, and they are very, very similar. And then I went in with Zest to try to help blend it out a little bit because it was so pigmented. And then on the outer corner, I'm deepening out with Blood Orange, and I'm taking Zest and I'm adding in a little bit more, and then I'm just packing on a little bit more and slowly working it outwards with a smaller fluffy blending brush. And then connecting my lower lash line with Blood Orange, and then I'm taking Clementine underneath the rest of my lower lash line. This is such a beautiful, vibrant shade. And then I'm taking the Fair Night Pixie Epoxy all over the lid, and I'm just tapping it out, making sure I remove any excess. And then going in with Tangerine on the inner corner with a brush. And then right next to that, taking Tasty. This shade is so beautiful, so shiny. And then on the outer corner, taking a little bit of a Flavorful, just layering it over that deep matte to really make it pop. And here's the second finished look. So unfortunately, the citrus shade broke, so I had to take it out of the palette. So that's why it's missing. I'm not sure how it happened because I didn't drop the palette or anything like that. The mattes are super easy to use. They're very, very pigmented, and they blend like a dream. They blend together like a dream. For me personally, there's definitely some depth missing, but I think this palette is supposed to be more of a kind of summery color story. Maybe it's not really meant to have deepening up shades, but for me personally, I would have preferred if some of these tones were a bit deeper, because I do think that some of these orangey pinky shades start to look the same on the lid. Specifically on this eye, I noticed that happening, where because they're so pigmented, they just ended up looking very similar. Specifically these two shades, while yes, this one is slightly darker than this one, honestly on the lid, because they're both so pigmented, they look very similar. And then Quench is kind of along the same line, so I do wish there was just a little bit more contrast. So Blood Orange is the deepest matte in here. So let's talk about the shimmers. I was so excited for these, especially this one right here, because this has been some of my favorite kind of duochrome, multi-chrome shadows, where it's got like a green base and like a pink red reflect in it. Now this shade picks up really nicely, but Tangy is hard panning. The moment I touched these shimmers, I could tell that they are the hard panning type, which is very unfortunate. So they do not pick up with a brush like at all, even if I misted my brush. Tasty, Tangerine, and Tropical, they're not as hard panny as Tangy, and Flavorful is also a little bit more hard panned. So these pick up like really nicely, but you can kind of feel they're really hard pressed. But Tasty does at least pick up really well on a brush. I love the color options of the shimmers, and I love that they're in corresponding columns. They're definitely topper-like. They're on the sheer side, so you can really get a sheer wash if you just go in with your finger, and you get a little bit of kind of shine and sparkle out of them. But if you really want them to be a little bit more opaque, a little bit more shiny and sparkly, then definitely definitely recommend using some sort of a tacky primer of your choice. So those are my initial thoughts on the Citrus Punch palette. Let me know in the comments below if you pick this palette up, what do you think of it? I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.